Go.
Good morning, Summa scholars. Welcome to the Daily Summa. Today is April 29th, during Eastertide and the feast of St. Catherine of Siena.
If you say so.
It is. It's one of the ones I celebrate. It's on my calendar.
I know. Okay.
Catherine of Siena, first lay person to become a doctor of the church. Convinced the Pope to leave Avignon, come back to Rome. She was a big deal. 21, starts preaching with permission from her spiritual director. She's a big one. I know that Mother Natalia loves her also. I haven't talked to her about that, but I've just heard her reference her and use her in prayer for one of her specific saints that she asks intercessions of. Great mystic, Catherine of Siena. If you don't know her, look her up, folks. Well, here we are again. Now it's morning, Joe. I don't know if you noticed.
That's bad.
It's more difficult.
Bad.
That's a possible adjective, yeah. Although it is a beautiful spring morning.
It is. I mean, as far as mornings go, it's good. It's a good morning for a bad morning thing.
See, you guys don't know this, but I woke up. First of all, had like a late night, Lord keeping me up all night praying thing, which sounds wonderful, but in reality,
kind of sucks.
You just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then, but this morning, little breakthrough situation, and so I come bounding in like a happy toddler, and Joe's just trying to wake up, so I've already regaled him with a bunch of happy the Lord's stuff, and sorry to do that to you. Sorry for my sunshiny happiness this morning, Joe. Sorry to inflict
I'm just trying not to rain on you, dude.
You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Certainly doing a job.
Oh man. So I don't know what to say, because the reason I don't know what to say is because there's so much I want to say, but maybe I'll just not do that and say just remind you that Catherine of Siena was a saint, of course, and doctor of the church and a lay person, and she did it through a great deal of prayer and fasting, as I've always been saying. Can't do it all in one day, but you should have a goal that moves towards a more prayer and fasting, less doom scrolling, less distractions. Everyone needs recreation, but we are a recreation heavy people. So just remember, that should be your goal. Read a little, maybe go to the Catholic encyclopedia or something, Wikipedia even. Read about Catherine of Siena and set some goals, perhaps, of where you're going to go with your prayer life, so that you can become the little dove under the staircase. Oh, we've run out of our time that I paid for Restream.
Yeah.
So there might be a few differences. We'll see if we can collect some funds to re-up on our Restream. But just remember, guys, you can go to craigkinsey.locals.com and sign up, become a member, and give us a little financial assistance. And perhaps in the future we can have better production and keep this Beaver Galleon sailing through the high seas of study and catechesis and camaraderie. All right, shall we get going, Joe? What do you think?
I think we shall.
Okay, we're on question 14, and it says here Article 12 at the top of the page. That means the previous article was
11, I think. 11.
11. Yeah, the previous article was 11. I don't remember how many questions are in this one, but I guess I'm scouting for a short page. This one will be nice. Here we go. The end of Article 16 will be short. But today at Article 12, we haven't, almost the whole article is just one page. So we're pretty much hanging with one article today. Article 12, whether God can know infinite things. Let's see what Larry's concerns are. Objection 1. It seems that God cannot know infinite things, for the infinite, as such, is unknown. since the infinite is that which, to those who measure it, leaves always something more to be measured, as a philosopher says. Now, of course, Larry should know by now, we toggle between divine and human perspectives when we're talking. He hasn't caught on yet. Moreover, Augustine says that whatever is comprehended by knowledge is bounded by the comprehension of the knower. Now, infinite things have no boundary, therefore they cannot be comprehended by the knowledge of God. This is just stupid. But, I don't even think you would have to study Aquinas to be able to come back on Larry with that one. But, all right, let's move to objection 2 from Ralph. Further, if we say that things infinite in themselves are finite in God's knowledge, against this it may be urged that the essence of the infinite is that it is intraversible, and the infinite of the infinite is that it is intraversible, and the finite that it is traversable. Untraversable and traversable. Finite is traversable, as it says in the physics. But the infinite is not traversable either by the finite or by the infinite, as is proved by the physics. Therefore, the infinite cannot be bounded by the finite, nor even by the infinite, and so the infinite cannot be finite in God's knowledge, which is infinite. It's a little more clever, I suppose. Of course, the physics is going to be talking about physics, and Thomas is going to be talking about the eternal spiritual God. Objection 3. Further, the knowledge of God is the measure of what is known, but it is contrary to the essence of the infinite that it should be measured. Oh, interesting. He misused the word measure. Therefore, infinite things cannot be known by God. On the contrary, Augustine says, although we cannot number the infinite, nevertheless, it can be comprehended by him whose knowledge has no bounds. Surprise, surprise. By the way, we had a great little mini Kipperfest up at the shop last night.
Nice.
Rob flew in for a minute. Asian practiced a song that he might bust out in jazz night.
There you go.
It was great because Harrison was on a rampage. He was like, let's drink this vodka. Let's eat these sardines. Let's take this bread. I think he was just hungry. And he was like, if Rob gets upset, we'll just buy it all back. But he's not going to get upset. Yeah. And he had already said that, I think kind of hinted that it was okay through Adam. All right, I answer that. Since God knows not only things actual, but also things possible to himself or to created things, as shown above in Article 9, and as these must be infinite, it must be held that he knows infinite things. Although the knowledge of vision, which has relation only to things that are or will be or were, is not of infinite things, as some say, for we do not say that the world is eternal, nor that generation and movement will go on forever, so that individuals be infinitely multiplied. That's interesting. I need to, do you have a pencil? I'll have to remember to mark this. This has implications for the spiritual body question that we were talking about. Remember, even yesterday, I think we mentioned it. The nature of the spiritual body. He's saying that we do not say the world is eternal, nor that generation and movement will go on forever.
I want it back.
Nor that generation and movement will go on forever, that individuals will be multiplied forever. Generation, of course, means sexual reproduction, but he also uses the word movement. He says that movement will not go on forever, including movement. That's interesting. We'll have to drill down deeper in this. I'll have to talk to Doc Rebard and I'll put that right there. See how I did that? How does he do it? For God knows even the thoughts and affections of hearts, which will be multiplied to infinity as rational creatures go on forever. Wow, this is so very interesting. The reason of this is to be found in the fact that the knowledge of every knower is measured by the mode of the form, which is the principle of knowledge. For the sensible image In sense is the likeness of only one individual thing and can give thee knowledge of only one individual. But the intelligible species of our intellect is the likeness of the thing as regards specific nature, which is more abstract, which is participable, oh my gosh, which is participable.
Participable. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
You got it.
I did so good. By infinite particulars. Hence our intellect, thank you, by the intelligible species. I can tell how tired I am. Like I have this excitement of my little breakthrough this morning, but I can tell that body is still in recovery. Intellect by the intelligible species of man in a certain way knows infinite men. Not however, as distinguished from each other, but as communicating in the nature of the species. And the reason is because the intelligible species of our intellect is the likeness of man, not as the individual principles, but as to the principles of the species. This is what we've already said. You see a particular, you look out from your door and you see, first of all, being, but you don't think of it that way. Then you see pear tree, but your mind is seeing a bunch of particulars like leaves and branches. Or you see Joe as a particular human, but your mind understands humanity. We understand that hats are hats, even though they all look different. We kind of understand what a hat is. And then things start changing enough. You know, somebody can take a ashtray and put it on their head and call it a hat. Or the classic thing at the party where you wear the lampshade as a hat, right? The turtle shell. But it's not a hat. That's what makes it funny. That's why it's a wild party. He wore the lampshade as a hat. Or like if someone thinks a man's a woman, it's comedy.
Yeah.
Because we know that it's not really.
I think Raymond would look cute with this on his head.
Who?
Raymond.
Oh, I think he would, yeah.
Yeah.
Even better than like all the other kids wore those leaves, those
Show
elfish.
him the turtle shell.
This is a real turtle shell, y'all. This is what Joe was putting on his head. But he was saying that it would look good on top of his son's head. I think Jane maybe could actually fit in it though.
Yeah, it'd be uncomfy because there's some kind of weird cartilagey thing that's poking out from the sides.
Yeah,
that would be uncomfy. But I don't care if she can't talk or tell me it hurts. So.
Yeah, it doesn't really
I don't
matter
think
until they can talk.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in first part of the second part. On the other hand, the divine essence, whereby the divine intellect understands, is a sufficing likeness of all things that are or can be, not only as regards the universal principles, but also as regards the principles proper to each one, as shown above. Hence, it follows that the knowledge of God extends to infinite things, even as distinct from each other. All of God's knowledge is resting tenderly in the infinite heart of the Father. It'll be really interesting to hear how he describes the Trinity. I may have read through it years ago, but I don't remember any of that stuff. We'll see how it goes. Is this thing still on?
Extreme? Okay. Yeah, I think
Reply to objection 1. The idea of the infinite pertains to quantity, as the philosopher says, but the idea of quantity implies the order of parts. Ooh, they've got to order parts.
Wait, do we turn the page?
It's a mechanic. Yeah.
Oh, we should do the turning the page thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, turning of the page sponsored by CraigKenzie.locals.com. You should run on over there right now.
Run. That's good.
Yeah, you should run on over there right now and sign up. Be friends with us there. Possibly give us some kachingos.
Yeah, Craig maybe at some point might actually make some videos or something for it.
It's been the octave, as you well know.
I'm just saying it would be.
But I do make videos, and you can see them on Locals. A little behind the scenes stuff. I should have showed some of that oyster party last night.
Wait,
Locals. Wouldn't that have been good?
Of course it would have been good.
But as it says right here, but the idea of quantity implies the order of parts. We need to order new parts, guys, for this Beaver Galleon. So help us to order new parts. How does he do it? Therefore, To know the infinite according to the mode of the infinite is to know part after part. And in this way, the infinite cannot be known. Excuse me more. For whatever quantity of parts be taken, there will always remain something else outside. But God does not know the infinite or infinite things as if he enumerated part after part, since he knows all things simultaneously and not successively, as shown in Article 7 of this very question. Hence, there is nothing to prevent him from knowing infinite things. It is all one. It is all one. He is one. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Oui, baguette.
We had baguettes last night.
Good.
There probably was somebody wee. I don't know. I didn't pay attention. I didn't keep
That's
track.
bound to have happened.
Bound to have. Reply to objection 2. Transition imports a certain succession of parts, and hence it is that the infinite cannot be traversed by the finite, nor by the infinite. But equality suffices for comprehension, because that is said to be comprehended, which has nothing outside the comprehender. Hence it is not against the idea of the infinite to be comprehended by the infinite. And so, what is infinite in itself can be called finite to the knowledge of God as comprehended, but not as if it were traversable. Well, we're just using language in, almost not poetic ways, but we're showing all the facets of the diamond. Sure, say that God's mind is finite within himself as infinite. Okay, fine. We're just saying it's another way of saying what we're still always been saying. God's knowledge is not discursive. He doesn't think things through. He comprehends, and it has always been that way within him. He is unchangeable, immutable, and he is just sharing with us his life through this little game that he's created called the world. Started at the Big Bang, and has to do with movement. That's why I was saying the spiritual bodies thing has implications when he says there won't be movement. And there's a lot that could be said and talked about regarding that. But the movement is one of the main, well, it's probably the main point that Thomas makes for the 5 ways. Once you comprehend that things are moving, just like a chrysalis becoming a butterfly is movement, that I'm moving from a child to a man, to an old man, to a corpse. Everything is moving. Everything is in act, but also in potentiality. The more we meditate on that, the more that'll just begin to pop to you. That's why the new atheists couldn't comprehend what Thomas was saying, and they made fun of it, because you really have to sit with it for a while, see it more and more, and then it just begins to become more and more clear to you. And that's when you start to have wonder. People who study Thomas a lot or meditate on these things begin to talk about contemplative wonder. And that's why we have in our logo the little bird, the meek and humble dove under the staircase with the fire of contemplation that comes through studying this stuff, even though it's straw. Reply to objection 3. The knowledge of God is the measure of things, not quantitatively, for the infinite is not subject to this kind of measure, but it is the measure of the essence and truth of things. For everything has truth of nature according to the degree in which it imitates the knowledge of God, as the thing made by art agrees with the art. As the thing made by whose art? It's bad. It's not capital. It's not a capital. As the thing made by art agrees with art. I'm not quite sure what that means. Grant, do you?
Well, I don't know. The thing that it seems to me like if you're painting a picture, you're creating by art, even though there is an artist creating. The artist is creating by the art.
Oh, the art is like the
Which
craft
agrees
of it.
with
The
the
craft of it.
The craft agrees with the craft. I think, yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of the idea.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Jim. Granted, however, an actually infinite number of things, for instance, an infinitude of men, or an infinitude of continuous quantities, or as infinitude of women, as an infinitude of air, as some of the
We didn't
ancients.
say that.
Well, accidents held, yet it is manifest that these would have a determinate and finite being, because their being would be limited to some determinate nature. Hence, they would be measurable as regards the knowledge of God. God's not mind is infinite. You can't have an infinite number of successive things. Sorry, I went off on my own little reverie. Sorry, folks, I forgot you were here. We'll get back to that. Okay, Article 13. Let's just do this and close out the page. We're probably going to get below 30 minutes today, huh? Wow. Article 13, whether the knowledge of God is of future contingent things. Objection 1, it seems that the knowledge of God is not of future contingent things. Larry, you're wrong. We'll talk about it tomorrow. This is all strong. Go pray, people. And enjoy your feast of St. Catherine of Siena.
Good.
Amen.
20 minutes.
Wow. That's probably the shortest.
Probably. Well, we've had some short pages.
But